Touch that burns, voice that lures, and curves that rule. The war had been raging for 3 cycles when Commander Lisa Morgan first saw her. Earth was losing, and everyone knew it, but nobody dared speak the truth aloud in the command centers or briefing rooms where human officers gathered to plan their next desperate move against the Valkyrie Empire. The aliens had superior weapons that could melt through titanium like butter and shields that laughed at human railguns and missile arrays. But what made them truly terrifying was their appearance, because the Valkyrie looked almost human. Or perhaps more accurately, they looked like what humans might become if evolution had taken a sharp turn toward perfection somewhere along the way. Lisa stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, watching the blue curve of Earth below when the doors hissed open behind her, and she turned expecting another exhausted ensign with bad news from the front lines. What she saw instead made her breath catch in her throat. The woman who entered was tall, impossibly tall, standing nearly 7 feet in her form-fitting armor that seemed to ripple with captured starlight, and her skin had a faint luminescence to it like moonlight on water with subtle patterns that shifted beneath the surface. Her hair fell in waves of deep violet down to her shoulders, and her eyes were large and slanted upward at the corners, colored a brilliant amber that seemed to glow from within. But it was her body that drew the eye and held it captive, because the Valkyrie were built like no human could ever be, with curves that defied physics and proportions that seemed designed by an artist who had never heard the word restraint. Her waist was impossibly narrow, flowing into hips that swayed with each step in a way that seemed almost hypnotic, and her chest strained against the adaptive armor in a manner that made Lisa feel suddenly very aware of her own ordinary human frame. 2 armed guards flanked the alien woman, but they looked nervous and their weapons trembled slightly in their grips. The Valkyrie woman stopped a few meters away, and when she spoke, her voice was like honey poured over gravel, smooth and rich and impossibly compelling. "I am Kyra of the 7th Fleet, and I have come to speak with whoever commands this pathetic station." Lisa straightened her spine and met those burning amber eyes, refusing to be intimidated, despite the fact that her heart was hammering against her ribs. "I command here, and you will address me as Commander Morgan if you want this conversation to continue." Kyra's full lips curved into a smile that showed teeth slightly sharper than human normal. So much fire in such a small package. "And I thought all humans were soft, frightened creatures who hid behind their walls and prayed to absent gods." Lisa felt heat rush to her cheeks, but she could not tell if it was anger or something else entirely. "State your business, or I will have you escorted back to whatever ship dropped you here." The alien woman laughed, and the sound seemed to resonate in Lisa's chest like a physical thing. "I come with an offer from the Empress herself, because she has grown bored with this war and wishes to end it, but not in the way your people might hope." Lisa crossed her arms over her chest, trying to ignore the way Kyra's gaze traveled slowly down her body and back up again, as if assessing merchandise. "What kind of offer?" Kyra moved closer, and Lisa caught a scent like ozone and exotic flowers and something else she could not name. "Your planet will be absorbed into the Empire, and your people will serve, but not as slaves, exactly because we Valkyrie do not believe in wasting potential." She reached out with one long-fingered hand, and Lisa flinched but did not step back as those fingers brushed a strand of dark hair from her face. "Humans have certain qualities we find amusing, and your kind will be given positions suited to your talents." The touch of Kyra's skin against her sent a jolt through Lisa's nervous system like electricity, but hotter, more intense, and she gasped before she could stop herself. Kyra's smile widened. "You feel it, do you not? Because our people share a compatibility that makes such reactions inevitable when we touch, and it grows stronger with repeated contact until—" She let the sentence hang unfinished, and Lisa jerked backward, putting distance between them. "Get out and take your obscene offer back to your Empress, because Earth will never surrender." Kyra tilted her head, studying Lisa with those predator's eyes. "I wonder if you will still say that in 3 days when your fleet is destroyed and your cities burn." She turned toward the door, then paused and looked back over one perfect shoulder. "I will return, Commander Lisa Morgan, and when I do you will listen to the full terms, because the alternative is extinction, and even your pride is not worth that." The alien woman left, and Lisa stood alone on the observation deck, feeling the phantom heat of that brief touch still tingling on her skin. 3 days later, the human fleet was gone, reduced to debris and radiation signatures floating in the cold dark, and Kyra returned as promised. This time Lisa met her in the command center, surrounded by her officers and technicians, all of whom tried very hard not to stare at the towering alien woman, who moved through their midst like a goddess among mortals. Kyra wore less armor now, her outfit reduced to something that might charitably be called a uniform, but which left very little to the imagination, and Lisa saw several of her male officers swallow hard and look away. Your fleet is destroyed and your orbital defenses are failing. So, now we talk properly. Lisa wanted to refuse. Wanted to spit defiance and order this creature off her station. But the report scrolling across the screens behind her told the truth. They had nothing left to fight with. What exactly does your Empress want from us? Kyra smiled and gestured for Lisa to follow her to a private conference room, once inside with the door sealed. Kyra's expression shifted, becoming almost businesslike. The Empire spans 1,000 worlds, and we require administrators, soldiers, scholars, and yes, companions for those who earn such privileges. Lisa felt her stomach twist. You want us as slaves? Kyra shook her head, making her violet hair shimmer. Servants perhaps, but with status and protection because of Valkyrie, who claims a human is responsible for that human's well-being and advancement. She moved closer again, and Lisa found herself backed against the wall. And some humans rise very high indeed if they prove themselves worthy. Lisa's breath came faster as Kyra loomed over her, blocking out the light. And what would I have to do to be considered worthy? Kyra's hand came to rest against the wall beside Lisa's head, caging her in. You would have to accept that the war is over, and that your people's best chance for survival lies in cooperation. And then you would have to convince your superiors to accept the terms I offer. Her other hand came up to rest lightly against Lisa's chest just above her heart. And perhaps you would have to accept that some bridges once crossed cannot be uncrossed. Lisa felt that heat, again spreading from the point of contact, burning through her uniform and into her skin. You are trying to seduce me into betraying my own species. Kyra laughed softly. I am offering you and your people a future. And if that future includes certain personal arrangements between us, well, that would simply be a pleasant addition to the accord. Lisa closed her eyes, trying to think through the haze that seemed to cloud her mind whenever this woman touched her. Why me, and why does it feel like this? When I told you we are compatible, and you, Commander Lisa Morgan, have a strength that intrigues me. So I claim you as mine if you accept. And through you, I will negotiate with Earth. Lisa opened her eyes and met that amber gaze. And if I refuse, then I will find another, and your people will still kneel, but you will have lost the chance to shape how that submission occurs. The choice was impossible, but Lisa knew in her heart that it was no choice at all, because Earth was beaten, and pride was a luxury the dead could not afford. She took a shaky breath and placed her hand over Kyra's, feeling that electric heat surge between them. I accept, but I have conditions. Kyra's smile was triumphant. I would expect nothing less. The treaty was signed 6 weeks later, and Earth became part of the Valkyrie Empire, under terms that were surprisingly generous considering the circumstances. Humans retained control of their own world and system with only a small Valkyrie administrative presence, and in exchange, they provided personnel for various positions throughout the Empire. Lisa Morgan became the official liaison between Earth and the Imperial Court, a position that required her to spend most of her time aboard Kyra's flagship, traveling between worlds and learning the intricate politics of an empire that spanned the stars. And if she shared Kyra's quarters, and if their relationship became something that went far beyond professional courtesy, well, that was between them. On the night they departed Earth's orbit, Lisa stood beside Kyra on the bridge, watching her homeworld shrink to a blue marble against the black. Do you regret it? Kyra asked softly. Lisa considered the question honestly, then shook her head. I regret the war and the lives lost, but this, and she gestured between them. I do not regret, because you gave my people a future. Kyra's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. And you gave me something I did not expect to find among the conquered. Lisa looked up at the towering alien woman who had become so much more than an enemy. What is that? Kyra smiled, and the expression transformed her face from beautiful to breathtaking. an equal,